let's get the show on the road. Episode 19, Mental Mondays with episode 19. Mental Mondays with your boy Matty B, Epis Radio. Thank you for joining us. Let's get this show on the road.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money.
That's right.
Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Man, we could talk about that here on this Mental Monday. Happy Mental Health Monday, everybody! Ba-da-da. All right, it's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio. Thank you for joining us tonight. Happy Mental Health Monday to all. Hope you're doing well. This is episode 19, right? Episode 19 now? Jeez, this is episode 19 of Mental Mondays with Epis. We're coming here late to you tonight on this Monday, as Monday's coming to a wrap in about 6 minutes here on the East Coast. Obviously, if you're listening to us live, if you're watching here in post, we appreciate you. It was originally aired on September 22nd. We've been going live for a couple hours now, actually. Went live around, I believe, 9:30 or a little after 9, a little less than 9:30. Did a little sports show for you. Me and Dub talked a little bit about NFL, Major League Baseball news, everything that's going on in the realm of sports. And now, as always, finishing off this for you. Oh, thank you, babe. You don't want to join us? No.
It's so hot.
My wife was just dropping off my drink for me. I was hoping to get her in here tonight, but it is late. I understand. And you know what? Give praise to her, for obviously dealing with little Coopage, my little newborn baby child. Now been around for almost a month. He was born on the 25th of last month. So 3 days to the month, and we're going to be celebrating his 1 month anniversary tomorrow, so a little bit early. Is it tomorrow? No, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to be celebrating it. I did want to, bring her on here and talk a little bit about that, and just everything that goes into having a newborn child and the struggles, the ups and downs that go with that. It's not easy at all. It's nice that, I'm off of work and that she's off of work and we're able to, co-parent and get through a time of, just overall chaos, I would say. Like, that's the best way I can describe it, in the best way possible, mind you. It's a chaos that I'm willing to accept and endure and be a part of. It's great. It's some of the best chaos you'd want to experience in your life. But nonetheless, it is not easy, especially with a household where it's 3 kids. Majority of the time we have 4 cats. It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, and especially one of my kids being a special needs, so a lot of demands with him as well. And, for a newborn, child, there's a lot of demands with them, always, as having a newborn child. So it's tough. It's something that, as prepared as you think you'll be for it, you'll never really know. Something new is always going to turn up, and the challenge will always be there. Interestingly enough, with this newborn little baby Coop that we have, he, outside of my other children, now I have 4 total, 3 with my current wife. Outside of all the other kids, he has certainly been the more fussy one in regards to sleep regimen and feeding regimen. Other than that, he's pretty status quo baby, pretty easy. I would say, like throughout the day, as long as he's, fed, changed, and comforted, all the same, it's relatively not that hard. This is, if you're a parent, you would know this is the easy stage. This is where it's you're relaxed. It's like this is enjoy this. So I have spoken to other parents in the past, and they get so freaked out around this stage, and I laugh because it's like, oh wow, if you're really struggling with this, I kind of feel bad for you for what's to come because man, it doesn't really, I wouldn't say it gets much better, I mean, maybe eventually somewhere down the line, it might get a little bit better for you, as a parent. When they're past the age of like 25 and they're actually like, conscious of what's going on in the world and they have a valid opinion on things. Other than that, I don't know. My oldest son is 13 going on 14 and, we seem to butt heads in every direction. So, which, I mean, some of it is definitely age appropriate and as expected. Other, who knows, could be just a result of the circumstances in which he's grown up in. I'll take full blame on part of that, or all of that, nonetheless, it's interesting. It's interesting, but it's not easy. It's not easy having a newborn child, especially coming into already a filled family dynamic. I was hoping to have wifey on for that tonight, so doesn't look like we will. But maybe in a future episode we will definitely have her on and we'll talk about all that. Because I would love to hear her perspective on things. I mean, not that I don't know her perspective. We talk about it all the time. It's one thing between me and my wife is that we do, talk about these things. We don't shy away from it. I think it's what's made us so strong over the years, and what has, just made that connection so pure. And even when we argue at times, which is very minimal to say the least, it's never anything too big or something that we feel like we can't come back from and that impedes us going forward. So certain keys to it, and again, these are things that I would like to hear her perspective on, but. Anyway, thank you for joining us for tonight. Again, Mental Mondays with Epis, episode 19. All right, this is, we had Believe in Yourself last week. This week is Just Be Yourself. Okay, similar, but not the same. Okay, we will get to that in a second. Let me just pull up this week's mental health video of the week for you. All right. Well, actually, let's get to it. We'll get to last week's video, but before we do that, all right, if you haven't already done so, go check out all the socials for Epis Radio on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Is there anything else? Should there be anything else? No. YouTube, obviously. As you're coming, some of you coming, watching us here on YouTube as we speak. Others, coming from Twitch. Check us out here as well. As always, approaching 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's a beautiful thing. Keep showing up as always. All right, we weren't here last week, we didn't do a Mental Monday. just took a little bit of week off. Had a lot going on, doing. I was having renovations on the house, doing some work here. I've been painting. I've been fixing up the kids' bathroom. Just overall been getting things done. Doing some yard work, the whole nine. Been a little bit busy, on top of obviously, dealing with the kids and marathon training. So just decided to take a week, in terms of the show off. Been around with the sports show. Just, it was coming, I took a little bit of time off during the summer, but just felt like, hey, needed a little extra week there. And here we are, 2 weeks later, with the Mental Mondays. So we didn't have time, obviously, to talk about last week's mental health video of the week. I'm sure some of you may have caught it. If you didn't, play that for you now. All right, it's a good one. Break that down.
One more. I mean, at work or the gym. I mean, if you feel the need to do more in the gym, by all means, or at work, then do so. But more along the lines of friends and family, would you be more present? Communicate better. Sometimes in life we get complacent with things, and in our relationships sometimes too. So ask yourself, could you be doing more? After all, the relationships we develop over the years, it's what makes us who we are and brings us a ton of joy. So don't lose sight of that and ask yourself, could you be doing more? Keep showing up.
This one's a little fast, so we're going to play this one definitely a second time.
Ask yourself, could you be doing more? I mean, at work or the gym. I mean, if you feel the need to do more in the gym, by all means, or at work, then do so. But more along the lines of friends and family, would you be more present? Communicate better. Sometimes in life we get complacent with things, and in our relationships sometimes too. So ask yourself, could you be doing more? After all, the relationships we develop over the years, it's what makes us who we are and brings us a ton of joy. So don't lose sight of that and ask yourself, could you be doing more? Keep showing.
All right. Could you be doing more? That was the topic of last week's mental health video week. And if you didn't catch the previous episode, I was talking about believing in yourself a little different, but could you be doing more? Always an important question to ask, oneself. And, again, off the top of that video I mentioned, not necessarily at your job or anything like that, or at the gym. Although if you do feel like you need to be doing more in those aspects of your life, then by all means do so. You should be doing so, right? More along the lines of, could you be doing more in your overall relationships, whether it be your friends, your family, kids, if you have some kids, or a kid. Could you be doing more? It's something that I always, like to ask myself every now and then. It's kind of like just a self-check-in, like just make sure, hey, okay, do I need to reevaluate some things? What am I doing? Am I treating this person right? Am I doing enough of this? That's the person that I am. I don't know. Maybe it's a little too much, but these are the thought processes that I go through sometimes. I really do a mental self-check of, hey, maybe I need to, do a little bit more for this person. Maybe I need to check in with that person. It's how I maintain my relationships, and it goes with everybody, my wife, my kids, friends, sometimes it's hard to keep up with it. It's hard to, maintain balance in terms of all these relationships and do the right thing and try to, do the right thing. And, I think it's a part of life. It's something that, as long as you have enough self-reflection of and you're aware, what your actions and what it is you're doing, at the end of the day, as long as you have good intentions, you'll be on the right track. You'll do what is necessary. To have stable and genuine relationships and make it worthwhile. It's tough, man. It's definitely tough. It's one thing for me, and why, I did that is because, and why I created that video is, again, the self-doubt in me that, I'm not doing enough at times. I've always kind of like had that in the back of my head growing up. Is it's like, am I doing enough for this person, that person? And although at times maybe that is true, I would say more often than not it's not. We're probably already done more than enough. It's just in the nature of who I am. I've always been told that I'm too nice, that I'm too kind. Again, it's just, like how I operate, who I am, how I feel I should be. How that's perceived, I really don't know. I really don't care at times. I just, again, I'm always, there to, lend a helping hand and just try to make somebody's day a little bit better. That's been, my thing for as long as I can remember. So, I've just always wanted to make people laugh and, make memories, good memories, things like that. So, like that's it. It's along those lines, and question mark, for me, during the show and things like that, it's like just keeping myself accountable and saying, hey, maybe I could be doing more. Maybe there's always room for more. And there's my co-host, W. Dubois, transparency in bold letters over there. Gino, what's going on, man? Thank you for sticking with us for the double dip tonight. Gino hanging with us all night long. And Dub, I told you, old man, you should be asleep by now. What are you doing still up, bro? Past midnight at this crazy hour. Thank you for joining me, bro, as always. And I did enjoy that. And, he said one eye open. Gina. Thank you, both of you. Appreciate you, as always, for being here tonight. Yeah. Like that's what it's about. It's transparency, like Dub said. Holding yourself accountable. Understanding that, maybe you could be doing more even when you think you're doing everything. That's important. And it I think it speaks volumes for, somebody that, that's trying. And as long as you're making that type of effort, then, man, you could be valued as a good human being and somebody to be around. Some worthwhile being around, Any fears as a new dad? Gino comes with a heavy question right there. Any fears as a new dad? In regards to what exactly? Because, there's a lot of fears as a dad. Growing up in this political climate and things like that in this world, and this just financially, politically, there's so much civil unrest. I don't know. I've been told that it's irresponsible that I've had the amount of kids that I've had. That I should not. That we live in such trying times that it's irresponsible to just have kids in general. It's hard to argue against that fact, especially when you look at the whole financial burden behind having a child. when I have a child, I never consider the financial aspect of things. I really don't care for it. Doesn't really bother me. I've always thought that, I'll make do. I'll find ways. And we have, it'd be interesting to have my wife on here and talk about that. But, a part of what we done, especially, with this new kid, Coop, we haven't done anything. Everybody's into the whole gender reveal, baby shower, the whole nine. We didn't do any of that this time, especially this time around. We've done similar things in the past. Worldly coming into traumas from your life, yeah. Well, traumas from my life, got a lot of traumas in my life, so I do my best to not try to pass that on, that burden onto my kids, and do my best to kind of steer them away from that, and I think this is a part of it. The mental Mondays with Epis, talking about that, talking about your feelings, things like that. Really getting in touch with your emotions. It's certainly, something I advocate for. And, for my children, yeah, am I concerned about the world that they're growing into? Absolutely. I don't even know if, and I probably shouldn't be saying it, because God knows who's listening out there. But, I'm not even necessarily sure, raising kids in the United States is the right thing to do, at this point. I've had that conversation with my wife recently. Say, who knows? But here we are, nonetheless. And as much as I love America and I want to be here and I want to make something right, for them and all that, yeah, I have a lot of concerns, no doubt. Maybe more so for my daughter. I do think, my boys, well, at least one of them, will, well, two of them will be okay for the most part. One having, disabilities, vision, hearing, and verbal disabilities, verbal challenges, whatever you call them. It's certainly, that's a whole different road, to worry about. But, little Coop, little newborn, nothing really. What worries me is technology at the end of the day, especially with Coop, because I feel like, he is going to be very, involved with that. He's growing into an age of just, AI tech that we've never even conceived possible when we were growing up. And that in itself is concerning, how they learn and how they retain information and how they get their information and everything that's going on right now politically. And then you see the desire from the current administration that is in play, their desire to control media in all aspects, in all forms, and it be the far right or no way, in regards to that type of rhetoric. It's kind of a scary time. It's a very scary time to be raising a child. It's a challenging time for any parent raising a child. I could see the criticism, but at the end of the day, as far as I last checked, the growing population in terms of our rate of growing population has gone down a bit. Somebody's got to have children. I'm not saying that me having 4 kids is necessarily the answer, but I do think I am qualified, to raise some children and put them in a good position and and or have a positive impact on society going forward. I could be wrong, but I have enough faith in myself and the people I've procreated with to achieve that. So man, there's a lot to unpack, in terms of what's going on in this day and age. But no, at the end of the day, would I recommend having children, to somebody else? At what cost? Like, like for what reasons exactly? Because if you're telling me, like, if you're asking me, oh, well, should I have kids to, save on cost and, help financially? And then no. Like, you're just gonna, it's a bottomless pit. You're gonna spend a lot of money. It's a negative net worth, like it's not going to do anything for you financially unless you're like super business savvy and somehow you employ your kids and through employing your kids, they become a tax write-off and shit like that. Like, there's that whole aspect of things if you really want to get into it. That's a whole nother realm of financial aspect that I don't know everything about, but I know it is certainly possible, especially if you're an entrepreneur and doing your own thing, whatever. On the other hand, yeah, like there's a lot of downside to having kids, no doubt. It's a lot of stress. Let's not glorify it, right? At the end of the day, kids are stressful. Being single and having no kids and not, and then having I wouldn't say a burden, but having the responsibility to, showing up and doing this and doing that and, taking away your everyday. Sorry, folks. It's a late night Monday. I'm getting a little tired here. Having the everyday responsibility to show up for your kids and do certain things. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. As a trade-off, though. The joy and happiness that you get having with a child is unmatched, truly. And I wouldn't, take away all the, the rough moments, to replace that. Truly, I as rough as it is at times, those good moments that you have, those moments that'll last forever. You're sitting on your deathbed that you'll remember about. It's what it's all about. It's what it's all about. And do I think about that? As I'm procreating and going through that, and whether or not, I'm thinking, I guess maybe one should definitely contemplate if they're ready to bring a human being into this world and guide them and and try to steer them in the right way and the honest truth about it, man, is that I don't care what you do, how many books you read. Eventually, these kids will find their own way. Eventually, they'll find their own path, as did I, as did you. We all find our own way. We all stray away from our parents. We all, whether it be in spite or just, in rebellion, I don't know, or just different ideology, whatever it is. We all grow. We all grow into different, our own human beings at the end of the day. How we get there, very different. But at times very similar. And that's it. And it's crazy. It really is crazy to think, you look back. Could I have done a lot of things differently? Sure, but that's the intricacies of parenting. It's never, black and white. There's so many ways you could have, so many scenarios you could have changed, you know, just by, choosing to say something different or choosing to do something different, and in the moment you think you're justified for it, and later you find out you're not. It's a learning curve, man. Parenting is not easy, along with just maintaining genuine relationships in life, right? Friends and, girlfriends, boyfriends, just friends in general, like how many conversations I've had with other friends, struggling to find companionship, struggling to find partners in life. And, it's the never-ending conundrum that we face as human beings, right? Like that's where we're at, Hold that thought real quick. All right. Thank you again for my guys Dub and Gino for joining us tonight. Nice. Dub throwing up the emotes over there, mister. Are you sleep yet? You still hanging with us? I'm gonna get a little before I put a little music on. All right, and we get out of here for the night. We're gonna take a look at this week's mental health video of the week, as we would just recapped last week's mental health video of the week. This a little bit different. All right. Well, I can just show you, or I could talk about it. But this one is talking about don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Just be who you are, and let that be the key that steers you down that righteous path. I do believe.
Don't be
that's
afraid to make a
completely
fool of yourself every now
Check
and
it
then.
out.
What do I mean by that? Just be yourself. Put yourself out there. Do what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. And in doing so, you might make a fool of yourself. You might be doing something that people may judge you for or criticize you for. Who cares? They're going to judge you and criticize you anyway. Just do it. If it's what makes you happy, then by all means do it. Work every day towards that, and just focus on being who you truly are. And it'll show in whatever it is you're trying to do in life. And at the end of the day, as long as you're happy doing it, it's all that matters. Block out the outside noise. Get out of that delusion. Keep showing up. Don't be afraid to make a fool
All right,
of yourself.
one more time.
What do I mean by that? Just be yourself. Put yourself out there. Do what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. And in doing so, you might make a fool of yourself. You might be doing something that people may judge you for or criticize you for. Who cares? They're going to judge you and criticize you anyway. Just do it. If it's what makes you happy, then by all means do it. Work every day towards that, and just focus on being who you truly are. And it'll show in whatever it is you're trying to do in life. And at the end of the day, as long as you're happy doing it, it's all that matters. Block out the outside noise. Get out of that delusion. Keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself.
Here's why, that this mental health video of the week for me, as I put along a little smooth jazz for you as I close out tonight's show, as we recap this week's mental health video week. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you. Dub, people who are still learning, indeed. We are all still learning, my friend. This is a learn in process. And that ties into this week's mental health video week. Part about just being yourself, who you are, making a fool out of yourself. It's necessary, man. It's been important for me to do what I'm doing right now. Every time I hit record, right before I start a show, those butterflies that show up in my stomach, and my chest, fluttering a little bit. It's real. It's there. Those nerves there, and it's because of the, the doubts, the self-doubt. How I may be perceived, or what people may think of me, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, man. At the end of the day, it's what makes you happy. It's what you like doing. It's the journey. We've been streaming here for over 3 hours tonight, and this is, in recent memory, this is as good as any episode, or I've done in months. I truly enjoy it. I enjoy every time I get behind the mic and I talk to you guys, and whether it's just one person listening or a whole room, it's all the same. And again, it's about putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, making a fool of yourself, whatever it is. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and here I am doing it. And practice makes perfect, right? I gotta be in it to win it. I gotta be here, showing up, on a daily or weekly basis, to perfect my craft, to be who I am. And a part of why I've been on this journey and doing what I've been doing is to inspire others, and hopefully I inspire others. I mean, I like to think so. I've definitely received some feedback from others in the past, and I appreciate that. And it's because it's how I started my whole journey with everything, with regards to running, and my fitness, and my endeavor with this show, the whole reason, the whole nine that we're here doing what we're doing now. That's it, man. That's really what I have to say. It's just about being yourself. Again, in regards to the video, blocking out that noise, blocking out, disassociating yourself with that delusion, that what others around you, what they, think of you actually matters. It's a whole lot of nonsense. None of it matters. What matters is how you feel, and that's it. Yeah, that's really it. Believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, and at the end of the day, just be yourself, man. That's all I got for you folks, man. It has been a hell of a mental health Monday. A long day for me. All right. Whether you're watching with me here live or you're watching post, I thank you. I appreciate you. I cheers to you. All right. We are about to hit 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I thank every one of you. Now, although that number seems high, all on the other social platforms, we're on the bit of the low side. So, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, let's get on up there. Let's make it happen. All right, let's make the channel grow for the better. And help us out if you can, and hit that like button, hit that follow. All right, subscribe, comment, do whatever you got to do. We appreciate you as always. All right, and when I mean we, I don't only mean I mean my co-host W. Dubois, and anybody that has ever been affiliated with this program. We appreciate you very much. All right, coming. Big thanks from all the people at Shiv Nation. Zero Sorrow rating us tonight. 2 to your head, rating us on Twitch as well. We love you. We appreciate you. Keep doing your thing. Keep showing up in your content creation. And listen, as for me, there's a lot ahead. There's a lot ahead. We don't stop here, like I said, in terms of the sports. There's only 6 games left in the Major League Baseball season. And yes, I will be here for it. I will be talking about it, but I will be going away. All right, this week I'm going up to Lake Placid. I will be away for a little bit. I'll be running a marathon on the 28th of September. So now 5 days away as we get into the new day here at 1:33 Eastern. No, 12:33 Eastern. But I'll be running a marathon up in Lake Placid. I'll be staying up there for a little bit. Hanging out with the family, doing my thing, getting lost in the woods, go golfing, the whole nine. I will be putting out some content while I'm away. I don't know if I'll be able to do a live stream, anything like that. So I, keep you guys posted as always on the socials. Check it out. All right, but again, appreciate your support. In the meantime, if you haven't, go check out some of our older episodes. We really appreciate some good old episodes. A lot to unpack, whether it comes from the sports, whether it comes from the Mental Mondays, food reviews, a note to yourself, all the different segments that Epis Radio has to offer to you. All right, and if you haven't, go check out my co-host W. Dwa as well over on his YouTube page. Check out his series called The Cup, all right, starring none other than W. Dwa. All right, everybody, thank you for showing up. As always, it's been a beautiful Mental Health Monday. I don't got much more for you. I'm just about toast, and that's about it. So until next time, I will see you soon. It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio. Keep showing up.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
Man, what a beautiful night. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good morning for some of you.
Hope you find
Unless you're coming to us from the West Coast. Have a beautiful night. Thank you for everybody that was part of tonight's show, for the sports show and Mental Mondays. I will see you soon. Keep showing up.
in my